Hi, this is Cheryl, and I'm going to explain the craft that we're going to be making at the Ladies Retreat this year, 2026. We're making lavender sachets with the theme verse of 4:8, Philippians 4:8. And we're stamping on the flowers. These are little lavender flowers, and then I'm using fabric markers to make the grass and markers to do the purple on the lavender. You can make it like today I'm going to make one that's for your drawer. So they're all going to be the same size. There's going to be about 18 of the muslin color and about the same number of the white. I was going to show the white, but I didn't get to print the theme verse off in the white on the back. I ran out of ink, so we have to do that later. So the parts that you're going to see in your kit are going to be a gauze bag with lavender already in it, but it's going to be open. And then you get a piece of stitch witchery to close it up with an iron. So we'll hit that in a minute. You're going to have the verse and then the heat and bond that will go on the fabric after you're done doing your stamping. You have a piece of scrap material that's for you to practice the stamping, because sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. I did numerous practices looking for something that I liked, how I liked it to look. The yellow I decided was too much, so we're not going to do that. But I do have fabric markers in many colors. So if you want to do something in the background, go for it. It's a two end. One is like a little pen. When you do the dots on the lavender, you're going to want to use the pen side, not the marker side or the brush side. The brush is more like a brush and it kind of spreads out a lot. It is permanent fabric ink after 24 hours. So everything is going to be all right to be near your clothes and not get it damaged after 24 hours. Okay, so you're going to also either cut a bag, piece of paper like this to put inside your bag, or we will already have them cut. It just depends on how much we get done. Sorry. I'm also going to show this little bag, but you're not going to get a little bag like that, but I'm going to make a little pillow out of this one just to show you that's an option if you don't want to put it in your drawer, if you don't want to use the lavender, you know, just something different to do if you're not liking the scent of lavender in your clothes or whatever. So the first thing I would say to do, I have over here a tray that has rubbing alcohol in it, and that's how you're going to clean the stamps. So as soon as you're done stamping, please put it in. I'm going to have a tray for black ink and a tray for the green ink. Please put them in there so that the next person has a clean rubber pad to work with, so that it stamps out nice. So I'm going to do the green right now, but I will show you the black. So you're just going to press this down. And you don't want it like deep, but you want it covered. So I just press and press evenly on it, and it goes up. And then sometimes this one didn't turn out too good on that one, but that's okay. And then I press again. I'm going to press a couple different places in here. Oops, I think I got too much ink this time. So on this one, I'm not going to press quite as hard because I don't want the outside to show. So it doesn't matter if you overlap them, you know, it's whatever you want to do to make it look good. If we use the other side of this, see, I didn't go through this, but if you're using the markers, it might go through, and that's why I'm recommending putting paper in between your bag. And this one, we're going to use the black. I'm going to put that in there. And this one, I'm going to use this flower and the lavender flower. So I'm going to put this flower in first. Make sure you have it inked. This one doesn't. Okay. And I'm going to put a couple of these in. So you want to press firmly, but see how this kind of got a little bit black down there, but that'll be all right because we're going to end up putting this over part of it. And then we're going to do some of the lavender. This, again, is just a practice. Lavender usually grows pretty close together, so that's why I'm keeping my lavender kind of close. But again, it can be anything you want it to be. After that dries a little bit, oops, I'm not going to do that anyway. So that's what you do. You can practice with the markers, but you really don't need to. That's the brush side. You want the little pen side. And I just do dots in the lavender. Like that. However you want. The leaves I did on one of my samples. I did a yellow. And I just kind of colored it in a little bit. Again, it can be as detailed as you want or as plain as you want. I mean, quite honestly, you could leave it looking like this if you didn't want to do any coloring. I would still do the dots. This yellow isn't working as good as my old, or not as dark anyway. So I might use a different color if I was going to do this, so it would show up. I think this would be too big. Yeah, maybe it'll be all right. I'm not crazy about that. It's kind of making the ink smear. So I would probably pick a different color if you wanted to color those in. But anyways, that's the idea. So after you've practiced a little bit on your sample fabric, you might have to cut it out. You might have to measure the size of your bag and cut out the bag if we don't have enough of these cut out. But there's only going to be 2 lavender stamps and 2 of the flower stamps available at any one time. So you're going to have to take turns doing this. It's not like everybody's going to get together at once to do it, but that's kind of the idea anyway. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place this near the bottom, and I might trim this up a little bit. So I'm going to first iron on the heat and bond paper. If your paper is bigger than the piece of canvas, please trim it, because it will then either get on the iron and make a mess of the iron, and then the next person to go use it is going to have stickiness all over their project. So I'm just taking my scissors and just slightly taking anything off. It might be, it doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to be pretty close to the size of your canvas. So that looks pretty good. I don't have too much overhang there. Then you're going to take the iron. Oh, I gotta turn it on because it turned off automatically, sorry. We'll go to step. I'm gonna explain this and then I'll iron it on. So once I get it ironed on, and I don't want, if I don't want it square, if you want it square, that's fine. You know, it's up to you how you want it. But I rounded the edges off on this one. So once I have the iron on the heat and bond, I trim both. And I would probably do it where I could see what I'm trimming so you don't trim the letters. But then I would trim, by folding it somewhat in half, you're getting it to be about the same on both sides. So if you just do one side, it's very unlikely you're going to be the same on this side. So it's always a good idea to fold it and then trim it on the one side. Okay, so let's see if this is hot enough now. So this is a stand for it. You just need to push that back. And this is pretty heavy, so actually I'm gonna heat and bond it on the opposite side, on the paper side. So you're gonna press it, leave it on for a couple seconds, and then just go around and press it all the way like that. I thought I had a little bit bigger travel iron to go, but today when I turned it on, it was not heating up hot enough for this to be sealed. So we're going to the little one, so it'll take you a little bit. But again, this project is more for a few people doing it at a time or doing it in stages. I will have, you know, a separate area for the ironing, a separate area for you to do the stamping, you know, so you're not taking up the room. Everybody needs to be able to do this. So
Cheryl, can I ask you a question? Can you just use a regular iron, or do you need that?
You can use a regular iron. I used a regular iron when I did that one, but I don't want to. My regular iron is a very expensive iron, so I don't really want, even though it's kind of broken, I don't want to bring it if I can get away with not bringing it. So it's very hot, but it is sealed. But we're not going to do any, we're not going to peel the paper off yet. We're going to now fold it. Let it cool just a little bit before you do that, just to make sure you've got a good seal. Okay, my trash can is under the thing. So I'm just going to round the edges a little bit. Nothing drastic. Checking both sides. So that'll be what that looks like. Okay, so I'm going to take a pencil. I want my saying right near the bottom of my project. It doesn't have to be, but that's where I'd like to have it. So I'm going to just draw a line under it, not too much, but just enough to give me a reference point of where I want my lavender. So as you can see, if I push this over, I'm just barely under where it would be ironed on. Okay, and that, again, it's just for a reference. I probably would suggest ironing the front of this too. Just to kind of, because it's not a big iron, you don't want to leave any creases in it. So probably by ironing the top of it after you get the back done would be a good idea. Get it more straight. But this sealed really well. So you could do it where I would normally do it would be put the paper here, put this down, and then seal it from the top. Just make sure you're not scorching the canvas. If you leave it on too long, you will. Okay, so this is where I'm going to start. This is my reference point of where my saying's going to go. So I'll put my lavender just a little bit below this line, the stalks of the lavender. Hold on. I'm gonna add a little bit. I put this in a lot earlier and I think it's evaporated a little bit. You just put enough in to get to the rubber, but you don't want it really soaking the wood. And you take a paper towel and you just rub it dry. You don't want it wet when you stamp. Just pushing it in between some of these stalks is a good idea because, you know, even though it's fairly dry, you still get a little bit left in here. So I just kind of put my fingernails in there and help push it down, and I got it all dry. Okay, so I'm gonna get the green, and I'm gonna make sure I got a little bit too much really, but I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna start here, and then I'm gonna go like that, and I'm gonna go like that, like that. Maybe I'll go there. And now I gotta re-ink it because it's starting to go too late. And some of them I did like a couple like lower because of course lavender doesn't all grow with the same height. But it depends on what the look is that you want to do. I might have put a little bit too much lavender in there, but it'll work. So I let that dry a little bit. I'll explain some of the other things that you're going to do while you're waiting for that to dry. You're going to take this, and this is a piece of stitch witchery, which you'll probably tear off to just fit inside the organza bag. That's to seal this in so it doesn't fall out. I was planning on doing this without the bag and just putting the lavender in here, but there's like little specks in here that I was finding were poking out through the fabric, and I didn't quite like it, so I decided I'd put it in the organza bag. It does have ties, but again, when I tied it, it made it bunchy up here at the top like this, and I didn't like the look of that either. So that's why I decided, well, I'm just gonna iron this closed with a stitch witchery. Or it can be double-sided tape, you know, whatever is available if you ever decide to make these on your own. The bags came from Amazon, and they were fairly inexpensive bags. Because at first I was thinking I was going to sew bags, and then I thought, So I've got it in there. I've got it. Oops, I gotta get it a little bit more over to that end. You want to kind of fill it in, check it, make sure. I'm putting it above where the ribbon is. You can take the ribbon out if you want. It's totally up to you. I left the ribbon in it when I did mine. And then again, you're gonna flip this back and just lightly. This you don't have to do quite so heavy because it's not a heavy fabric. So while yours is, drying, so you can then color it. So you'll move, after you get done with stamping, you're gonna move over to where the markers are and do your marking. So somebody else can use the stamps. Okay, so again, I'll let that cool, but it'll be sealed tight. I did a practice one over here. Don't show my whole messy room. But see, I didn't put any lavender in it, but see how it's sealed. You'd have to pull pretty tight to get it open. Okay. So that's done. That's ready to go inside when we're ready for it. This is now dry enough to take my marker. And again, I'm just going to do dots. You can do different colors. Most lavender is purple, but when I was reading on lavender, lavender is associated and used for relaxation, mental clarity. You can use it for teas. This one is not a tea grade, it's a craft grade, so I wouldn't take it out and use it to drink it. I did buy the lavender right at a lavender farm a couple years ago. So I've been waiting to make these, and this was a perfect opportunity. And this one's really light, so I'm just going to make it lighter dots. And again, if you wanted to fill in the leaves, you could, but if you're using green, I think looks nice just the way it is. But again, some of them are really light, and you might say, oh, I need to make these darker. Then I would use the marker pens to do that. Don't try to re-stamp on top of one that you already did, because it'll never be he'll never be equal. And you'll say, oh no, what did I do? Okay, I know I had a couple more low ones. I think that one might be one. Okay, so that's good enough. Now again, if you wanted to use, the other flower, you could use it. I did order a calla lily stamp, but it got sent to my Rochester home, and I don't know if I'll get it. So I'm not going to even show you anything with that because I don't have it right now. So now what you're going to do is you let that dry again. You don't want to do it. Well, on this one I did some grass. So I take the pen. Oh no, I think I did this part. So again, look where your line is, your little pencil mark, and then you can just make some grass growing around. Because nothing always doesn't have something in there. I'm not perfectly centered. I would probably put another lavender on to help center it, but I'm just doing this kind of fast right now. So now you let this dry, and you're going to peel off the paper on the back, hopefully. My nails sometimes don't work the way I want them to. Oh, and keep the stamp pads covered if somebody's not going to go and use it right after you, please, because they do dry out. Okay, so I took the paper off. I'm going to put this about where I want it, see if do I want a little bit more grass, or, you can figure out then. Maybe I would put another stamp in. It's kind of bugging me. Put another stamp of lavender in there. I mean, that's what's kind of nice about it. It's really not something that you gotta overthink. I actually like this one better. I spread out my lavender a little farther apart. But doing this upside down, I kind of got a little carried away with stamping post. So that's dry now. I got it all the, and I mean it's soap and water washable, but I found that the rubbing alcohol actually cleaned them better, so that's why we're using that. So do that. I'm gonna put another one over here, maybe another one here. I'm gonna really go crazy with lavender on this one. Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna say I already did the lavender dots in there, so we can go on. So then I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna come to the ironing station. And you're gonna wanna make sure that you have this centered. So you gotta eye it. I'll have a ruler in case anybody wants to be exact, but I just eye things. This is the time if you don't like the shape or you wanna trim it some more, you can do that. But I think mine is about as good as I want it to be. So now I'm gonna suggest starting in the center. You don't want to create any bubbles. And then pushing out. And because this is thicker, even though this is a nice little iron, I would probably do it a couple times just to make sure it's adhered. Go kind of slow. Again, the object is not to let there be a bubble in it, because it'll just take away from the look. So that's why you should start in the center and then go out. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Okay, so on this one, I am not going to put the ribbon through like this so that it has a hanger. I'm just going to end up making a little bow there. But if you were going to do this, how I did that, I'm going to show you on the scrap fabric. Let's see, it's folded. You're going to go in where it's been sewn, so it's going to be a little bit tougher than this to get it through. Maybe I'll double it over. Okay, so I start with my make a mark. I don't know where my ink pad is. Anyways, I'm going to make a mark with this, but I'll have invisible ink to make a mark with so that it won't show. I'm going to make a mark where I want to put a hole in. And then I'm going to take my one side of the small scissors and I'm going to work this through the fabric by twisting and get a good twist in there. Okay, and then you take the awl and you try to twist it enough that you know this thin, all the ribbon's going to be thin like this. So you just need it big enough for the ribbon to go through. And I don't know what I did with the... Okay. Well, I will have, and I don't know where it is right now, but I will have a yarn needle that you'll then thread the ribbon through to get it to go through the hole. I mean, you can practically push it in if you do it good enough side. And that's how you do it. You'll do one on each side of here if you want to make it hanging. If you want to make a hanging one, that's what you do. You'll make holes on each side of this and then thread this through so that it'll hang, and then you'll tie it into a knot. And then you put your little bow on it. Okay. Inside your kit, or maybe not, I don't know yet if I'm going to put these inside the kit or just have them available. If you want to be able to open up your bag, maybe to change out the fragrance or put some lavender oil on it to refreshen the thing, this is a Velcro tape, and you'll peel off the plastic backing like that, and you'll press it, and you kind of have to make sure you try to keep these lined up. After you put your bag of lavender in, you would take the paper off. And what I did after I took I'm sorry, it's not paper, it's plastic. After I took the plastic off, I kept these together like this. And then the plastic is off, and then I pressed real hard to keep it so it keeps it together. And then this is what happens. It has a nice strong bond, and it won't just flap open by itself. But this one, because I'm going to make this a sachet to go in my drawer, I'm going to use the Stitch Witchery again. And this one, I'm pretty sure you're not going to have it in your kit. I'm going to have it available for you to measure. And this stuff, you don't even need to cut. If I have a stronger one that I end up buying, then you might have to cut it. But you want it to come end to end as good as you can. If it's a little bit too long, you can always fold it under or just tear the little tip bit off. But this stuff rips like that. It's very simple. So don't forget, take out your paper. I'm getting ahead of myself. Take out your paper, put in your lavender bag that's already been sealed. That we sealed just a little while ago. I can't even open it. See, it's all sealed. Stick it in there. Make sure if your bag's a little too tall right here, or it doesn't go down to the bottom good. I mean, now it's at the bottom, so you probably just have to shake it. But on one of them, I think this one, I actually folded the top like that to make sure it wasn't inside where I was going to put the Velcro or the Stitch Witchery. So then you go back to the iron. And you're going to place this inside here. And I go right into between the seam, up to the seam, even though that'll still be a tiny bit open because it's only going to seal. Part of it is still getting most of it sealed. Just tuck it in. Again, if it's a little bit too long, then just either fold it over or tear it off. It's not hard. So then I'm just going to use my little iron again. And this, I'm just going to press across. And again, just please make sure you don't have the Stitch Witchery on the outside of the fabric, because it'll end up being on here and on my iron, and then the next person that goes to use it, it's going to be a mess. In fact, I had just a little bit, and you could hear it. See? Because I didn't have that even. So that's one thing to check, is make sure these are even when you iron it and that this is down. So I'd probably Knowing me, I just would take my scissors and lightly trim it, but it really doesn't matter. It's not going to get off on your clothes unless you put an iron on them inside the clothes, your drawer. So now I'm going to make, now you probably don't need this much ribbon if you're not making it to hang. These are about 18 inches long. So I figured it would make a nice little bow. But I would start by making a knot in about the middle of this. Yeah, it's just to give it some stability when I go to make a bow. Okay. And then if you're good at bow making, which sometimes I am and sometimes I'm not, you can make a little bow. Gotta start over, sorry. I kind of want it to tie where that knot is. So we have to pull it to make it work. It's being a pain. I don't know why it's not tightening for me. Yep, there we go.
There you go.
This might be not a good example. Okay, I was trying too hard before. That's my problem. Sometimes I overthink it and I make it harder on myself. So you can have as big a bow or as little a bow as you want. Or you don't even have to have a bow if you don't want a bow. Then you're going to take some of this fast grab tacky glue that my ladies in my craft club know all about. But I was trying to fasten this with a pin like we were doing some of our other projects, and that wasn't quite working because this knot is kind of dense. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. Yeah, try to eye where the middle is. If you have a trouble with that, you can always go like this, fold it, put your finger there, and take the invisible, pen that's going to evaporate and mark. Put a little bit of glue on it, and this stuff comes out hard, but you don't need that much. In fact, that's probably a little bit too much. And you're going to take your bow. You're going to make sure you have it in the position you like it in. And you're going to press down. Yeah, see, I used too much. But it'll soak in. And just let it set. Don't do anything with it. What I should say, though, is everybody should, on the back of their bag, when they start, maybe put some initials on the bag with one of the markers. That way, when they all look about the same, we're not saying, okay, whose is this? So if you put your initials or your name on it, however you want on the back's open for you to do whatever you want. If you want to make another design on the back, go for it. But that's our project. I am going to show you another idea real quick. I'm not going to stamp on it. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll do the black. This is not the size that you're going to be doing. You see, even this one's smaller because I was experimenting, and that's why I had to fold under that organza bag because it wasn't quite deep enough. So after I did this, I was like, well, I think I really need to make them a little bit bigger so we don't have that issue. So that's why this probably needed a little bit more. Bad thing about rubbing alcohol is it evaporates very quickly. But if we keep one set for the black stamp and one set for the green stamp, that will solve a lot of problems of contamination of the inks if somebody doesn't get them clean enough or dried off enough. So I'm going to request that everybody keep the black ones, the black ink. And then if everybody decides they don't want to do black ink and we only want to do green, then I'll take away the black ink and we'll just all do all green. I'm fine with that. It's your project, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I'm going to use the black ink. This cover comes off a lot harder than the other one. Haven't figured out why yet. I'm going to use this flower, leafy flower first. Make sure I get a good. I'm just going to stamp a couple. See, I got it a little bit too much on the back side. Okay. So that's that. I got a little bit more. And then I'll take my lavender. And I'll put right there. A little bit too close. That one's too close. I like this side better. But that's what the practice one is for, is to get an idea of what you wanna, how you wanna do it. And that one was a little bit wet. That's what happens. It's a little bit wet, and so it smeared the print that I had before. So anyways, that's that. You would color it, whatever. You could color in the leaves if you wanted, but that's that. So that's a big mistake I made right there, because I did not make sure the lavender stamp was dry enough. Okay, so if I wanted to make it, didn't want to have the lavender in it, or if I wanted to have the lavender in it, you could put the bag in here. But I was thinking, because it is good for rest, I was thinking you could make like a little pillow that you could put on your bed and have the lavender scent in your room when you go to bed. So you could put the bag in and then just put a little bit of filling in here. Spread it out like that. And where's the bag that I sealed without? This is without the lavender. But then you could put that in the back. So because you'd want the lavender in the back of it, because if you wanted to put it like say on your pillow or something so that it would be giving the scent of lavender when you went to sleep, you're better off having the smell on the back of it. And then you would seal it. If I was making a pillow out of it, it's up to you. You could either seal it with this stitch witchery or put the Velcro on it, so you could change it out or refresh it at some time. So those are 3 ideas that you could do to make our project. It's totally up to you. I hope you have fun doing it and looking forward to our ladies retreat. See you later.